The future of tennis is now. Following a long period of hegemony at the sport's highest level thanks to a handful of superstars, the 2022 US Open marked a turning point in tennis history, a truly momentous tournament that heralded a new era in the sport. The GOAT is gone. Her male counterparts are starting to look mortal as well. And there's a bevy of hungry young players ready to fill their shoes. There's plenty to unpack here, but we've got you covered. So sit back, relax, and take this in. For decades now, pro tennis has been defined by four individuals: Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, and, of course, Serena Williams. Sure, the game has produced other great talents over the last quarter century, but those four dominated so thoroughly and so reliably that they became transcendent figures. Not just tennis stars, but genuine sports icons. Dating back to 2003, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, widely known as the Big Three, have won 63 of the past 77 Grand Slam titles, accounting for almost 82% of the major singles championships during that span. At one point, the trio won 18 straight Grand Slam tournaments, and one of the three was the ATP's year-end #1 every year from 2004 through 2021, save for 2016. Meanwhile, Williams won a whopping 23 Grand Slam titles throughout her singular career, more than any other player in the Open era, and sustained her dominance for more than 20 years. She took home her first Grand Slam title in 1999 at the age of 17 and captured her 23rd in 2017 at the age of 35. During the mid-2010s, Williams spent 186 consecutive weeks as the WTA's #1 ranked singles player, tying her with Steffi Graf for the longest reign in women's tennis history, and Williams also finished as the year-end #1 5 times. At long last, though, we finally reached the end. Not only of Williams' remarkable career, but of this indelible period in tennis history in which she and the Big Three lorded over the sport. That reality was reinforced at the 2022 US Open, the fourth and final major championship of the year. For starters, it was likely the final tournament of Williams' career, as she announced beforehand that she would soon be evolving away from tennis. Following her third-round loss to Ajla Tomljanovic, the soon-to-be 41-year-old reaffirmed her intention to effectively retire, noting her desire to explore a different version of herself. On top of it likely being Williams' farewell, though, the tournament was also a watershed moment in men's tennis. It marked the first time since 2003 that none of the Big Three made it to even the quarterfinals of the US Open. Federer, the oldest of the three, missed the US Open and every other Grand Slam tournament this year amid a prolonged recovery from yet another knee surgery. And shortly after the tournament, the 41-year-old announced that he'll be retiring from competitive tennis in late September. Djokovic, meanwhile, wasn't allowed to enter the United States and compete for his fourth career tournament championship for refusing to comply with the country's COVID-19 vaccination rules. As for Nadal, who most recently pulled out of Wimbledon due to injury after winning both the Australian and French Opens for career Grand Slam titles number 21 and 22, he was no match for 24-year-old Frances Tiafoe, who bested the decorated Spaniard in the round of 16 to hand Nadal his earliest defeat at a major tournament in a half-decade. Afterward, Nadal seemed to recognize the momentousness of his defeat and the broader significance of the Big Three's absence from the late stages of the tournament, eloquently telling reporters that some depart, others come, and the world keeps going. And while it's a stretch to say that the 35-year-old Djokovic and the 36-year-old Nadal are done winning Grand Slams, it nevertheless became clearer and clearer as the US Open unfolded that tennis is on the precipice of a new era. Overflowing with compelling young players from every corner of the world, and with a competitive landscape more open than the sport has seen in decades. Of the 16 quarterfinalists across the women's and men's brackets, only one, Iga Swiatek, the WTA's current #1, had won a major championship. Furthermore, none of the four men's semifinalists were over the age of 26. The average age of the four women's semifinalists? 25. And the two eventual champions, Carlos Alcaraz and Swiatek, are 19 and 21 respectively. You'll want to keep an eye on those two, by the way. Arguably, no two players are better positioned to succeed the Big Three and Williams, respectively, as tennis's preeminent superstars. With his victory in Flushing Meadows, Alcaraz became the youngest US Open champion since Pete Sampras in 1990, the youngest Grand Slam champion since Nadal in 2005, and the youngest world #1 ever. Meanwhile, Swiatek's victory made her the first woman to win 2 major championships in the same year since 2016, and bolstered her chances of earning her first year-end #1 WTA ranking. The record-breaking crowds at Arthur Ashe Stadium may have been there to catch one last look at Serena, but they also got a glimpse of the future of the sport in the process. And as bittersweet as it is to turn the page on one of tennis's most electrifying and memorable eras, the future, it seems, is extremely bright. What say you, though? Are you ready for the Big Three and Serena to pass the proverbial torch? And which young tennis stars are you most excited to watch? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. As always, we appreciate you. We'll see you next time.